Horseback riding is one of the most dangerous sports that you can engage in. In fact, 45.2% of all traumatic brain injuries are from equine sports. That is more than double the brain injuries that come from soccer, football, we're talking professional football, and rugby combined. So that means that if you suited up to play for the Dallas Cowboys today, you would be far less likely, in fact, half as likely to have a traumatic brain injury as you would swinging a leg over your horse and going for a trail ride. That's why I want to share with you one of the 7 key points to building a stronger, more connected bond with your horse so that you can build a braver horse and feel confident and certain that when you go on that ride, that you are going to have a safer, more connected time. I'm just going to be going over one point right now, but to get the full picture, be sure to sign up for our free webinar. You can click the link below to make sure that you don't miss out on the full training that we'll be going over later. So because horseback riding can be so dangerous, it is critical, super important to have a brave horse. Now, when you're working on building a braver horse, there's 3 things that you have to focus on. 1, you have to build trust. When we talk about building trust, you are creating a strong connection. You're teaching your horse over and over again that no matter what, you will never place them in harm's way. Horses are creatures of habits. They love patterns. And the more that we create a pattern of safety, a habit that every time they work with us and not against us, that they are safe and taken care of, we will endear our horses to us to where they choose to connect and listen to us because they know that we will always keep them safe. The second thing to understand is that when we are teaching our horses to be brave, it's not that we're telling them that they can't startle or be surprised, because that's unrealistic, right? Even you and I, we get startled every now and again. But if they do get startled, we don't want them to spook. We don't want them to overreact, right? We don't want them to be ultra sensitive and reactive, because that's when, especially if we're on their back, again, that's when, horses spook, they bolt, spook, they buck, spook, we don't want them doing that. So it's recognizing that, yes, there might be some things that startle our horses, but we help them to manage their fears and trust us instead of taking off, running for the hills, hoping to maybe even get you off their back to lighten the load while they're escaping to the perceived threat in their mind. So it's more about managing their fears and teaching them that as long as they're with us, that they're okay, than creating what some people refer to as a bomb-proof horse, which simply does not exist unless you're riding like a carousel horse that has no actual life and choices and decisions that horse is making. So we want to acknowledge that and recognize that it's okay for them to see something, maybe be a little bit startled, but we want to teach them to manage that fear and not spook. And then the third thing is, in order to build that trust and manage those fears, we have to be intentional about exposing our horses to new things. Now, the old way of desensitizing a horse or trying to teach a horse to be brave, people would be flagging horses and whipping them all over the place and making that horse stand still. And sure, that's all well and good. That might help a horse to develop a certain level of confidence. But the reality is that we need to think about how a horse is going to be exposed to something scary in the natural, during a trail ride, while you are riding them. Are you going to be standing them still, telling them to quit every time they're worried about something? Or is it more likely that when a spooky, scary bag blows by, that you and your horse are walking down the trail and their feet are moving, not standing still? And if we've only worked on it with them standing still and we've never done it in motion, which is much more likely to happen, then they've never actually learned how to settle down and relax and trust you even while their feet are moving. If you can teach a horse that both at the standstill and while their feet are moving and in various circumstances that they're going to be okay. If you can intentionally, and we've got such a cool process of introducing this stuff to your horses, and you're going to want to make sure you jump out onto the webinar so you can learn the details step by step. But if you take the time to do this, you can teach your horse to connect with you over and over and over again, because they know that by connecting with you, by being attentive to you, that that is the safest decision for them to make, not to spook and buck or run or take off or any of those silly things that can end up getting us hurt. Because ultimately, we want to make sure that we have a safer and more connected horse. So this is just one of the 7 points that we're going to be covering in our free webinar on building a braver horse and unlocking your confidence and transforming your fears into courage. If you want to be a courageous rider, if you want to know that you and your horse are safer every time you go to swing a leg over, don't forget to click the link below and register so that you can learn the other 6 points we're going to be covering when we go live on our webinar and discuss building a braver horse. I can't wait to see you there.